to the Heart's Journey. I'm Monsignor Chiodo, pastor of St. Anthony's Parish and St. Anthony's Catholic School here in Des Moines, Iowa. And we're reflecting on the fact that Lent is here again. In a few days, we'll begin our Lenten journey together, beginning on Ash Wednesday. It's one of the most favorite days in the calendar, not just for Catholics, but for Christians of all denominations who see such an important value in the symbol of the ashes. That at the beginning of this 40 days of Lent, Christians of all stripes, coming from the Catholic tradition, receive ashes on their forehead and hear the words, remember you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And the meaning of those words highlights the significance of what Lent is all about. Lent is all about recognizing what truly matters in life, because in the end, everything turns to dust except our immortal soul. So to remember we are dust, and to dust we shall return is not an invitation to fear or dread, but rather an invitation to re-examine our priorities and to know that we need to put God first. And the Church gives us the tradition of three penitential practices for Lent. Not that we shouldn't or can't do these all year round, but in particular because we are looking again at our priorities. We accent prayer, fasting, and works of charity. And the prayer, of course, comes first because that is our conversation with God, our relationship with Him, the importance of encountering Him on a daily basis, to re-examine our lives and to see how much time, how much quality time we really put into our conversation with God. Every relationship is based on communication, and if there's no communication, there's not much of a relationship. So also with our relationship with God, if we're not communicating with Him, if we're not conversing with Him, if we're not sharing our lives with Him, then the relationship we have is a weak one. It's built on sand, but rather to be built on rock means that we spend time in prayer, and Lent is a time to look again at the priorities of how we spend our time, and if we are placing Christ in our relationship with Him first, and providing an adequate time, spending adequate time in prayer. I encourage people to go to daily Mass during Lent. It's a wonderful practice of really drawing closer to Christ, Him crucified and risen, and to be empowered by Him and His grace that comes to us from the Mass to set our priorities straight and to keep them straight, and to fuel and to feed and to nurture and nourish our relationship with Him. Fasting, of course, is another penitential practice, and we usually ask the question to one another during Lent as it approaches anyway, what are you giving up for Lent? I remember as a child that question, and used to give up candy and so forth, and that's good. Fasting is to deny ourselves legitimate things in order to be empowered spiritually to say no to evil. Every muscle needs to be exercised, and fasting is a way of exercising our spiritual muscle so that we are empowered by the Holy Spirit that comes to us and works with us through fasting, if we're open to Him, to build up that spiritual muscle so that when temptations come our way, we have the resilience and the power to say no to sinful temptations. So we give up certain foods, we abstain from meat, we cut back on the quantity or quality of food with God in mind, not to fast in order to lose a few pounds during Lent, but to fast in order to build up our spiritual muscles. Almsgiving also is a way of counteracting the tendency we all have to look at good old number one first before we look at the needs of others. Almsgiving means giving to those in need. In other words, resensitizing ourselves through Lent to the importance of tapping into the needs that other people have, to being sensitive, reacting and responding to the needs that cross our path, to have the eyes to see, the eyes to notice, the ears to hear, the ears to take note of the cries and the needs of those who are hurting or in need. Sometimes not just to wait for that to happen, but to look and to see and to hear what's going on around us so that we can respond with the love of Christ to those by sharing of our material means. I remember some time ago running across a man down in Texas, and I was in an open area with a parking lot in front of some shop, a Kmart or whatever, and he came driving around asking for a donation. He said he was about out of gas, and as Pope Francis puts it, he said, look at people in the eye. And so I looked at him in his eyes, and I had a sense that God was asking me to respond to him. So I gave him a few dollars for gas. And he immediately said, can I pray for you as a way of thanking you? And he did. He offered a spontaneous prayer. That was a beautiful thing, that I was ministering to him, but he in turn was ministering to me. And that's what almsgiving is all about. Even when we don't find somebody saying, let me pray for you, when we're generous with them, God blesses us in abundance for our sharing with others who cross our path the love of Jesus that's been planted in our heart. And so we come to this juncture now, this beginning of the journey again, 40 days of Lent. Let it be recognized in your life and in mine as one of the greatest gifts we have on an annual basis, to come to encounter and experience the power of Christ crucified and risen in our lives, and to be transformed by him to be more like him. God bless you.